Well, that's not necessarily true. Again, we've gone over hundreds of societies that haven't respected other people's rights.
Exactly, and they fall. Those societies fall.
Every society falls. There have been empathetic societies that fall. Every society falls. That's just something.
Do we agree throughout history, if we were to go through all the different types of societies, the ones that were the most empathetic are the ones that are still surviving?
No. The U.S.
Name me one. The U.S.?
Yeah, we have killed so many people. We've dropped atomic bombs. We're the only country to ever do that, and we are thriving very well right now. Israel, who is just dropping bombs on children at the moment, they're thriving. They have control in hundreds of countries.
I don't think that it's sustainable. I do think that there will be a collapse in that. But even in that, do you think that it's wrong? Okay, so sorry, go back to the slavery thing. So you think that slavery sometimes is okay?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, we're all slaves to God, and God is a good slave owner.
What?
Yeah, it's biblical. John, the apostle, a slave of God. It's literally in the Bible.
Okay, I'm talking about just owning people as property.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not explicitly condemned in the Bible, but the Catholic Church over the years have said that there's definitely certain forms of slavery which are very, very wrong. Chattel slavery is wrong, but I would say indentured servitude, so long as
chattel slavery in the Bible is God gives commands on how to do it.
It's actually not true.
Leviticus.
Yeah, it's actually Exodus that you're referencing.
It's Leviticus.
Exodus 20:21.
No, Leviticus 20. Nope. Leviticus 20, 41 to 46. He says you can own the slaves. The slaves are to come from the nations around you. You're to own them as property. You can bequeath them to your children for their years for life. It's not indentured servitude. Exodus is indentured servitude. No, that's Exodus. Exodus is talking about Hebrews. In Leviticus, they're talking about the nations around them. That's chattel slavery.
So they were not God's people. They were non-believers, and it's a different situation as to what we're in
so
today.
So you think that just because they're not God's people that you can own them for life as property? That's good?
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. This is an absurdity. This is why Christianity.
You need to base your morality off of something. You can't just say, "Oh, that's an absurdity."
I've said it a million times. Empathy. Go ahead.
You're saying, "I disagree with this." That's all that it says when you say that this is an absurdity. All you're saying is my moral framework disagrees with your moral framework. That's not legitimate.
No, it's an absurdity to say that you think it's okay to own people as property. Like you think that's a good thing. Like you think that's a good thing just because they're not believers. That's why I would say that and of course we disagree because I think morality is subjective. Of course we disagree, but I'm going to say that I have a higher moral compass than you because I'm going to state every instance, I think it is never okay to own another person as property. Other people as property simply because they didn't believe in your God. Yet you're going to say that your God is the utmost moral, good, loving being, but you also okay with owning people as property. That's an absurdity. That's a contradiction. That's not love.
You're saying that my moral framework is bad, and you're not providing any reason as to where you get yours from. You're saying empathy, but empathy is actually part of a moral framework. It's not an origin. You're appealing to empathy.
Yep. I'm saying the reason I think that it's not okay to own another person as property is because it causes them harm. And I am all about harm reduction.
Why is harm bad?
Why is harming people bad? Because it's not conducive to a social structure.
Okay, why is that something we should strive for? Why should we have the best social structure? Why is that good?
Because that's conducive to our survival as a species.
Why should we try to survive as a species? Why is that good?
It's just innate in us. People do not want to die. People want to live and go forward.
So our morality is not actually based off of any moral good. It's just based off of who can survive the longest.
It's still morality. It's a good or bad. It's a decision of what you think is right or wrong.
It's an instinct. It's not a morality.
What is your definition of morality?
An objective good or bad.
An objective good or I'm doing. I'm saying slavery, bad. This is why, because it causes harm. It's not conducive to good social structures. When something is not conducive to a good social structure, a society collapses. So it causes more harm to people, and there's less survival, less likely chance for survival.
Now you have to trace this back all the way down to where you're getting that idea from. We got to survival. Why is survival good? You said because it's an instinct. So your morality is not based off of actually believing that something is good.
Well, of course, because we're biological creatures that want to survive.
Okay.
Of course.
But I don't think that's morally commendable at all. If your morality is just
you're condemning that moral structure. Yet in the same breath, you say it's okay to own people as property. And you're saying that's morally good because they didn't believe in the same God as you. And that's the moral structure that you adhere to.
Whoa. We're talking about Exodus. We're not talking about the entire scriptures as a whole. I'm not saying I would enslave someone.
I asked you about the scriptures in Leviticus when he says, when he's giving Levitical law. No, he's not in Leviticus. It's your Exodus. He's talking about Hebrews. That's when he says you can release them in the 7th year of Jubilee. He's talking about, and actually he's only talking about male, not female Hebrews.
You know who the Levites are?
The priests. It's the whole. Yes, but that's what it says, and that's why in Leviticus, yes, that's why it says the nations around you. You are to take them as slaves. You are to bequeath them to your children for their property for life. They're not talking about Hebrews. They're talking about people for the nations. That's chattel slavery.
The Levites are the Hebrews. They can own non-Hebrews.
They're talking about the nations around them.
I agree.
So do you agree that in that scripture in Leviticus it says they can be their property for life?
Yes, because they're not.
Okay, so that's okay. That's chattel slavery.
Okay. That's the Hebrews, though. It doesn't matter.
So you think it's okay to own people as property for life?
No, because we don't hold to that divine law now.
I'm not saying now. I'm saying then. Do you think it was okay then?
It's fine.
Okay, there we go. That's what I'm saying. You're critiquing someone else's moral worldview when in your own worldview, you are saying it was okay at a time for other people to own other people as property, and it's all because your God said it was okay. That to me is an absurdity. That's not a good moral compass. That's why Christianity is a terrible religion.
At least I am basing my morals upon something. Yours are just an instinct.
It doesn't matter. I could say I don't base mine on anything. It doesn't matter. Mine are better than yours. If you're saying that just because you're saying that yours is the only reason yours is better is because you're grounded in this like 2,000-year-old Palestinian God. And this Palestinian God, it comes from the creator
of the universe. Of course,
okay, but this creator in your world, this creator of the universe also said it's okay to own people as property. And then you're saying that's the moral high ground to take. That to me is an absurdity.
Okay. So listen, you're saying when you are critiquing the morality of the God of the universe, you're saying, oh, well, look, he did this thing that I disagree with. Who cares if you disagree with it? No offense, Abby, but I don't care about your morality. It doesn't actually impact the
That's
God
fine.
Of the universe.
The difference between you and I then is that I have critical thinking. I'm going to look at this and say, you know what? This God who claims to be all loving and all just and all kind also said you can sell your daughters into slavery, you can own people as property, you can unalive and slaughter infants that wronged you in a war. You're saying that this is the utmost being of morality, and that's what you hold to. That's fine. I'm going to find that as absurd because that's going to be contradictory to the attributes that you are also giving him, being all loving, all kind, and all just. What do you think just means, to be all just?
Whatever God thinks is just.
Exactly. You're completely subjective to your God. Like it's not objective at all. No matter if God came down right now and said killing now is good, you would say, cool, killing is good. That is a subjective moral stance. It's not objective.
No,
it's dependent on the mind of God.
I can give you an overarching objective statement on what morality is, and you cannot. That is the difference between us.
No, it's completely subjective to God. You're at a whim for God.
Okay. My objective morality is whatever God says is good.
Exactly, that's subjective. That is not objective. So it can change, right? It can change depending on what God decides.
The God
that's not objective.
No. Oh my goodness. So you're failing to understand the essence of what a God is. So the God is immutable, unchangeable, completely prime mover. He is unchangeable. So if I say whatever God says is good, that is an objective stance that will not change. Yours is whatever I believe.
No, it does change though. I just asked you if tomorrow, if God says, today slavery is bad and then tomorrow slavery is good, your morals change dependent upon what God says, right? Whatever God says goes.
My morals remain the same, and they are all based in whatever God says.
So right now God says slavery is good. Do you just the example? It's just a hypothetical. Right now God says slavery is good. Do you agree then with God that slavery is good?
Yeah.
Great. Tomorrow God says, I'm kidding, slavery is not good. Do you now agree slavery is not good because God says slavery is not good?
Yes.
That is subjective.
No, it's not.
That is not an objective standard.
Can I explain why?
It changes. It's dependent upon the mind of God.
Can I explain why?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because God's morality is what I am adhering to. In the same way that a really good law-abiding citizen, their morals would be based on the laws of the government that they submit to. So if the United States says at one point abortion is good, this person with a consistent moral framework would say, okay, abortion is a good thing. But then a person with the same consistent moral framework of adhering to their government, if the government then said abortion is bad, that person would then adhere to the same moral framework.
That's subjective.
No, it wouldn't, because they're adhering to the same moral framework of whatever this government says I will do.
Do you realize objective is stance dependent? Right? It doesn't matter. It's a truth in the universe, right? It's something that no matter what is non-changing. It's a stance that cannot change. If you're saying that you're adhering to a government's approach to morality that can change on a whim of the government, that is subjective. It's a stance objective is stance independent. This is going to be stance dependent.
Yeah, so I don't know where you got the stance dependent thing from. That's never really been, at least from all the philosophy that I've read, never been something that is used to describe morality. Morality is based off of your moral framework and your adherence to what you actually believe.
So hold on. Can you give me a definition just quickly? I want to make sure I understand. What is your definition of subjective and objective?
Subjective morality is something.
Forget morality for a second. Just objective and subjective.
Subjective is changing between person, and objective is a factual thing.
Right. Okay. So subjective is going to be something that's stance dependent. So it's going to be it changes depending on the. No, it's what you're saying. Like you said, it changes. It can change. Subjective can change. Correct.
So subjective in the stance is in relation to the overarching moral framework. We're not relating the subjective and objective to certain stances. We're putting it over top of the framework that we have. So mine is objective because it is based in the same thing consistently every single time across all time. Yours is subjective because it is based on multiple changing things that will never once be the same. We're not talking about the stances. We're talking about the framework that you adhere to. And since you don't have a specific framework that you are actively adhering to, your morality is subjective.
Okay. The reason I'm not arguing that mine's not subjective. That's fine. But I'm arguing that yours is subjective. And I've shown this to you multiple times by saying it's dependent on what God says. Whatever God says, your morals change depending on what his stance is. There's no true, there's no objective claim I can make right now morally that you adhere to because it depends on what God thinks. If I make a claim and God changes his mind on it, your morality has to change. It has to adhere to that subject's stance on it. So again, is God not a subject?
That's a not related question. The stance is not what I'm talking about when I say subjective and objective. When I say objective, it means I'm consistently adhering to some sort of authority, and that authority is not changing. That is what it means to have an objective morality. And it does change. God does not change. That is a classical theology thing that's been proven hundreds of times.
Okay, so then slavery is good. Slavery is still okay.
No, so you're comparing the stance to the authority in which it came from. Stances can change, but that does not mean the authority changed.
Wait, okay, so let's get this straight. If God is never changing, and God in the Bible gives orders on how to own people as property, so he does not think slavery is wrong, and God is never changing, you have to adhere now to slavery is okay. Forever, because it's objectively true.
A commandment of God can change, but that doesn't mean that God himself changed.
So does God want slavery, yes or no?
Currently?
I thought you said he can't change.
No, so it depends on the time that you're living in.
Then that would change. Then he's changing his mind.
Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So the God is not changing, but what he is referring to does change. And therefore his commandments, based off of the changing subject that he is addressing, will change. For example, I have talked to multiple people and I have addressed these people differently based off of the topics that they have brought up and based off of the tone that they have interacted with me as. I will interact with them differently, but that doesn't mean that I am changing. It just means that I am interacting with different situations differently.
That by definition means you're changing. So, okay, listen.
Wow.
If God, okay. Was there a moment in time where God said slavery is okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there now a moment in time where God says slavery is not okay?
Well, actually, no, not really.
Okay, there we go. So then if you are following God's moral compass, if your whole morality is based on God's stances, and God, like you said, is never changing, and there was a moment that God said slavery is okay, you now still have to agree that slavery is okay.
I believe that slavery is okay in the sense that God owns slaves and that the slaves are his people. And I believe that there are respectful forms of indentured servitude. So yeah, I don't think that slavery is 100% outlawed in scriptures, but I don't think that really...
I'm talking about just owning people as property for life.
And yeah, indentured servitude?
No, chattel slavery, outlined in Leviticus.
Indentured servitude can totally be for life.
Okay, so let's agree on the definition of slavery. Slavery is owning another person as property for life.
Yeah, period. That's
okay.
not morally wrong.
Okay. You don't think that's okay. So there you go.
No.
This is why I would say that your religion is asinine. The fact that you think that you have a higher moral compass, and you're also at the same breath willing to say owning people as property is not a bad thing, that's not good morality.
Again, so you just said good morality as if you believe that there is a good and a bad morality.
Yes, I think that it's bad to own people as property. I agree.
If you don't have a God, you cannot believe that there's a true and false morality.
Oh, well, I don't think there's a God, and I do believe that, so...
Okay, so what is the objective? What is the objective morality? Where does that come from? Thank you for the donation.
I'm not saying it's objective. I've said this a million times. I think that morality is subjective. It's stance dependent. It's me saying what I think is good or bad. That is what my morality is. Okay, I'm telling you, my morality says that slavery is always bad. I don't think there's ever a good time where another person can own another person as property. You're saying that in your worldview, which you think that God is the utmost, the best moral person possible, in your moral compass, the best moral person possible thinks that slavery is a good thing. I think that is completely contradictory. That's not love. To own someone as property is not loving that person. So how can your all-loving, just God, who is the arbiter of good morality, also think slavery is good? And now you also are held to the fact that you think slavery is okay.
Yeah. Again, that's a very blanket statement with the nuances that I added and weren't able to finish expounding on. But again, I want to bring this back to you. You are saying, because I think this isn't good or I think this is bad, you are then comparing your morality to the God of the universe. I don't think you're fully grasping how absurd that is.
What what do you mean? Like, of course I'm going to critique for one, I don't think he exists, but I'm saying that if I'm doing an internal critique of your worldview, yes, I think it's absolutely asinine to think that an all good being, like this all loving being, also thinks it's okay to own other people as property. That to me is not morally good. And the fact that you are now confined to this because you hold that he is the arbiter of all good things, you have to say that slavery at this time or whatever time is okay, is crazy. That's not a good moral compass. This is why I don't think your religion is real. Okay. You're held to absurd standards.
You can't base a factual understanding of whether or not a religion is real based off of a bunch of I feel likes. That's not how
no, it's a logic. I'm deducing it down. I'm saying that it's contradictory to say. I don't think contradictions can exist. This is just a logical contradiction. It's contradictory to say that you believe in an all-powerful God. Now, if you said that your God is not all-loving and is like a moral monster, fine, there's no contradiction, and you want to hold to this moral monster's morality where slavery is okay and like killing babies is okay, then that's fine. But if you're trying to posit the fact that this God at the same time is all love, all like the most just, good, caring, love God, but you're also having to say that slavery is okay, this to me is a contradiction. This is why I don't think your God exists.
So you're coming into that with the presupposition of what you think love, justice, and goodness are. And then since you've had that presupposition based off of your own morality, and then the God of the universe doesn't perfectly fit that, you're saying, oh, well, now he can't exist because he doesn't fit my interpretation.
Okay, well, let me ask you, do you think that it like follows that I am all loving, I own people as property against their will? Do you think that those two things can follow, that I'm an all-loving being, but I also do things against that harm people? Do you think, I guess I could ask it this way, do you think that to be loving means to harm people?
Yeah, it's defended in the Bible as sometimes harm can be
I'm just asking you. I'm asking you, do you think that it's a loving act to do something that harms someone unnecessarily?
Well, now you're adding the term of unnecessarily, and I
don't think that slavery is necessary, of course.
Well, God didn't own any human slaves, at least not through chattel slavery, like you're intending. God owns slaves in the sense that they are His children as well, and they receive the inheritance.
For this conversation, I'm referring to just like specifically people owning other people. I would say that's not a love. Do you think that whenever people owned other people as property, like in human history, when people owned other people as property, that they also loved them?
Yeah, no, there have been many. There's actually a verse in Exodus which says, if the servant loves the master enough to want to stay, then there's this whole ritual that is described.
That's for Hebrews. It also, and Exodus also says you can beat them with a rod. So I wouldn't say that's loving.
You're neglecting the point that I just made, is that during this indentured servitude back then, that these servants would have very commonly loved their master enough to stay with them regardless of payment. Like they would choose to be a servant here. You're referring to, I hear what you're saying, but you're referring to indentured servitude, which I agree exists, but that was for Hebrews, not for slaves from the nations around Hebrews. Yeah, so even in the Levitical law, it's the same Hebrew word that is used for slave.
Ebed. It's Ebed is slave.
No, Ebed is servant. It's not slave.
In the verse when it says you can own them as property and bequeath them to your children for their property for life, is that different from in Exodus when he says you can own indentured servitude and they are to be released in the year of Jubilee? Are the ones in Levitical law to be released in the year of Jubilee, or are they property for life?
No, they're property for life, but that doesn't...
Okay, so there's a difference, right?
I agree that there's differences, but that doesn't mean they're not servants.
So you can servant slave. It doesn't. Sure, we can. It doesn't matter.
There is a difference.
But there's a difference. No, the difference is one is a debt repayment that they get released in 7 years. The other one is it's property for life. There's no debt being repaid. It's just they're forever. They're your property.
Okay.
right?
But they're also being provided shelter and food. I mean, like, it's not like they're just like working.
So you're reduced down to saying it's a loving act to own slaves.
How is that what I just said?
Because I'm trying to show that it's contradictory to say that it's an all-loving God would also say you can own people as property. That's the point of the contradiction.
Yeah, so Jesus touches on this. People question him, hey, why was the Mosaic law so harsh? And he says, I gave that law to you because your hearts were hardened. And now that the Spirit has moved for long enough, I give you a new law, which is the law of the new covenant. The people back then had a harsher law because they needed to be disciplined. I don't understand. It was.
So you think that it's just to discipline people by owning them as property?
Totally. If you're God, then yeah.
Totally. Oh my God.
If you're God,
all right.
you can do whatever you want.
All right. I think I don't want to. I feel like I don't want to keep your audience like we're going in circles. My whole point is the reason I don't think that this religion is like real or good or anything is that what I've shown, that you believe that in the same breath where you're saying that this is the arbiter of all good, all love, and the moral high, like the highest moral good you can accomplish, you also are agreeing that slavery is a good thing. I think that's an absurdity. I think that in an atheist worldview, if you have a subjective moral compass, I can easily say slavery is always wrong because it harms people, period. And I think that's why I would never follow a religion where a God says slavery is okay. And then he also says that he loves people.
Yeah, so again, like Christ said, that law was objectively harsh for a reason of discipline. And then, there's the book of Philemon in the entire New Testament where it's literally about the freeing of a slave. And then continued in Galatians 3:28, it says, there is neither Jew nor Greek, man nor woman, slave nor free in the eyes of Christ, for we are all made equal through his sacrifice. So it's not that God thought that, slavery was this good thing that he wanted to support all the time. It's at that specific instance with the hardened hearts of the Levites and of the Hebrews and of the surrounding nations, there needed to be a harsher law in order to discipline. And then, as time went on, he was able to implement the fullness of the law through Christ.
So, do you don't think that God could discipline people without owning them as property, for an all-powerful God?
I mean, sure, he could.
Okay, yeah, right. So I don't think that there's ever a reason to own people as property. Period. I don't think there's ever a reason for that. And if your moral compass tells you that it was a good thing, it was a loving thing to own people as property, to beat them with rods, to sell your daughters into slavery, if that to you is a good moral compass, that shows me that this religion is asinine.
Yeah, well,
it's not a good religion to follow.
To recognize context, you're saying, look at this one thing that I think is bad, and then rejecting the entire rest of
that's what
why
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There's no context. That's what I'm trying to show you. There's no context where it's okay to own another person as property. Okay, so period.
If you're the God of the universe and you're responsible for the moral good of the people that you are trying to convert, and you need,
I'm not going to tell them to own them as property.
Hold on. And these people are murdering each other. They're sacrificing children. Do you not think that it's probably necessary?
Wait, where in the Bible does it say in Leviticus the nations around them, they were sacrificing children? Because God sacrifices children all the time. Yahweh constantly asks for... He slaughters the Amalekite children.
That's not a sacrifice. That's not what a sacrifice is.
Do you not think that Yahweh requested blood sacrifice from animals all the time?
That's different. You said sacrificing human children. That's not
okay. Show me what verse in the Bible does it say the Amalekites were sacrificing their children?
I mean, it's all over Deuteronomy. God condemning the surrounding nations of Israel for sacrificing even cakes to false gods, sacrificing children to Baal.
Where's the verse? What verse?
I mean, I don't have the entire Bible memorized. I promise you, I'm not lying to you, though. There were children being sacrificed to Baal, burned on the hands of the altar. Sodom and Gomorrah.
A better question: isn't God the creator of all humans?
Yeah.
Okay. Does he know all things before he creates them?
Are you asking about predestination now?
No, I'm asking if these tribes around the nations of Israel that were doing all these horrible things, why would he create people that he knew were going to do these horrible children sacrifices? Why would he create them in the first place?
Well, if he didn't create anyone who would ever do a bad thing, then nobody would be created. And if he prevented us from doing,
what about Hebrews? Why did he like say, okay, Hebrews, I'll give you a chance. I'm going to lay out the laws for you, but all these other ones, I'm just going to punish
because of the covenant with Abraham.
Right. So did he? But why not just only create the Hebrews then?
But what? Because he wanted to give free will to other people, and it's not like.
But he's not giving them free will. He already knew when he created them that he was going to have them slaughtered.
Again, we're getting into Calvinism versus Arminianism. We can totally go into that if you're willing.
Well, I honestly, I've had a great conversation. To be fair, like this really has been fun for me.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I'm willing to talk a little. I can't say too much longer. I'm willing to talk a little bit more, but I also don't like. I don't know if you have a lot of people waiting. It's up to you. I'm okay to talk a little more if you want to.
Yeah. No, totally. This is fun.
Okay.
So when God created us, the typical Arminian or Catholic understanding of how that mechanism worked is that God humbled himself down to allow us to have genuine free will. So you can think of it like God holding a lighter, and then he lights our candle, and then he says, go off and do whatever you want with the candle. And, some people went off and they burned down buildings. And that doesn't mean that God did that. It means that the free agents that God created did it.
So, okay. The problem I have with this is if you're saying that, okay, I do want to get into free will with you. If you think that God is all knowing, right, and he creates everyone and he knows, like he says, I know you in the womb, right? I knew everything you're going to do, every action you're going to make.
Well, he doesn't say I knew everything you're going to do. He says I knew you. But I do agree that God has foreknowledge of it.
Okay. That works. So let's use the Amalekites as an example. He knew in creating the Amalekite children that he was going to have them slaughtered, correct? Like he knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So why would he create children he knew he was going to slaughter?
Romans 9 talks about it. Says,
yeah, I agree. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I was going to actually use this what Paul wrote. I think this is a great example for not having free will.
Yeah, well, so we can get into that in a second. It says, who are you, O man, to talk back to God? Why have you made me this way? Does not the potter have the same right to make one pot out of, for dishonorable use and the other for honorable use?
Well, he says something like he creates some vessels for wrath and some for glory.
Yeah, no, that the Greek word is translated differently often. I read the ESV, and so I think it has it as honorable and dishonorable use.
Okay,
and it says some are prepared for destruction. And that does not mean that God has forbearance, rather foreknowledge, because we read in 1 Timothy 2:20 that those vessels created for destruction can actually become vessels for honorable use by putting their faith in God.
But that to me completely contradicts the idea of free will, right? And I think Paul, when he's talking about this, he's clearly stating that we don't have free will. God creates some of us for his will and purpose to show the wrath. And he references Exodus, he references Pharaoh, right? Because in the story of Exodus with Pharaoh, when he's giving the plagues, remember he hardens Pharaoh's heart multiple times, and Moses even directly asks him, because Moses obviously had his heart in the whole thing, but he was saying, why are you doing this, God? And he specifically says, I'm doing it to show my wrath. So he negates Pharaoh's free will. He can, even though Pharaoh wanted to let his people go, he negates it. He hardens his heart so that he can slaughter all of the firstborn of Egypt. And he says he does this so he can show his wrath. That is not free will, and also not loving at all of a God. Why in the world would you want to slaughter the firstborn just to make a point? That's not love.
Yeah, so there's multiple things in there. The Pharaoh story actually is his heart is hardened only in reference to rejecting the freeing of the Egyptian slaves or the Hebrews. It's not in correlation to the killing of the firstborn. Remember he says that he gives the plagues he's going to do, and then it was I want to say because it was multiple times that he hardens his heart. And at this last time when Moses asks him, why are you hardening his heart? Why are you not allowing him? Because the Pharaoh wanted to let them go after so many plagues. And that's when Moses asks, why are you doing this? And he says, to show my wrath. So God could have very well
if he was all loving and all just, after the first few plagues, when Pharaoh wanted to let the slaves go, he could have let them go and spared all the Egyptian firstborn children, mind you, and not slaughter them. However, God made the conscious decision and he makes it very clear as to why. He says, to show my wrath. He wanted to show Egypt his wrath. So to do that, he decided that the way he's going to do it was to slaughter the firstborn. Now, I do not think at all that this is a just, moral, or good. Like, if we were to just take God out of the equation for a second, and we were to posit any other like leader, right? And then you saw like another leader say, I'm going to slaughter all the firstborn in, Iran because I want to prove a point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that leader would be a human leader who would not be God. So there's a big difference there. But also, I want to talk about the hardening part, because the Greek and the Hebrew words for hardening, there's actually multiple passages which read that Pharaoh's heart was hardened and the Lord saw this, not necessarily that the Lord hardened his heart. And the Greek and the Hebrew for the verses that do say that the Lord hardened his heart actually implies a punishment after the fact of Pharaoh's disobedience. So it's not a, God is predestining or forcing him to lose his free will. It's a punishing him to lose his free will. It's a
in all of his power, the only way that he can punish Pharaoh is by slaughtering children. There's no other way he can do it.
That's a big lead. I didn't say it's the only way. It's the way that God chose.
Right, exactly. I think that's important. The way God chose. Now, I would argue that that's completely unnecessary. If you are truly the arbiter of all, like you can do anything, I don't see that there's any necessary means then that you need to slaughter children to make your point. If you can my God, he could have created the world in any way he wanted. He could have created us in the garden of Adam, with Adam and Eve. He could have had it where they don't fall into sin. He'd never had to punish us, and we all lived in, he could have made it where we all just go directly to heaven. Like, okay, here's a good question. Do you think that there's free will in heaven?
It's an interesting question. I think that beatific vision is kind of outside of our even concept of free will or human bodies. So it's hard to speak on.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it's just such a supernatural realization of being in the full presence of God that it's completely incomprehensible.
Okay, so my point is you think that it's possible to live in paradise and not be just like robots, right? Not forced into anything, but live in a paradise where people are only doing good things. There's no harm done to anyone, right?
Yeah, well, I think our free will definitely be limited because we won't be able to sin. But I think that'll be through our own choice of saying, yes, I want my free will to be limited so that I don't sin.
Okay, so then that's possible. So why not create that world instead of creating Earth, where he knew, because the moment he put Adam and Eve in the garden, he knew they were going to fall into sin. If he's all-knowing, he knew this would happen. He was the one that gave the punishment, where he was going to punish us forever on Earth and live in torment and torture and the suffering that we would all experience here. And then a lot of us wouldn't even go to heaven. We're still going to go to hell because we don't choose him. So he had that choice. He could have very well, if he's all loving and all good, created us just to go all right to heaven, never created, quote unquote, like Paul says in Romans, vessels for wrath, only vessels for good that would just worship him. Do you agree that that's a logical possibility that could have occurred?
Yeah, so the difference between the heaven that I described and the perfect world that you're describing God is maybe making it. The people in your perfect will would not have had the choice between good and evil. They would be forced into it.
Okay, well, what about babies? Do you think that babies go straight to heaven if they are unalived?
I wouldn't say all of them. No, but I definitely don't know for sure.
Wait, you think there's some babies that go to hell?
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but I would say probably.
how would that follow with a loving God? Do you think babies have a conscious, like their ability, like, do you think a baby has the ability to make a rational moral decision?
Well, Romans 2:14-16 says that for those who do not have the law or the opportunity of the law will be judged based off of the secrets of their heart. So if that baby who was tragically taken away from us, then they would just be judged based off of their heart and their soul. So I think it would be similar to how we are judged. It just depends on the baby.
So, but I'm saying, so you really do believe that it's possible there's babies in hell?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's possible. I'm definitely not 100% sure. There's no explicit Bible verse that says all babies go to heaven. So I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I find that if that's what you think to be true, I would find that to be morally horrid. But let's just say, for the instance for this, that all babies do go to heaven. I think most Christians would say that. In that instance, do you think that they had something taken away from them when they were put into heaven? Like, do you think that it was a bad thing that they went right to heaven?
Do I think it's a bad thing that those babies went to heaven?
Yeah. Because you're saying that, like, you're saying the whole reason that we have this time on earth is so that we can make the choice, right, of whether we want to go to heaven or hell. But if a baby dies and they go straight to heaven, they skip all of the suffering on earth. They get to go straight to a.
There's also purgatory, the cleansing of the soul.
So you think babies are just like floating around in purgatory?
No. So that would be limbo, which you're referencing, which isn't a Catholic doctrine. Purgatory is a cleansing of the soul before you enter heaven, and so I would believe that there's probably some babies that go there, and that's also probably part of their choice to limit their free will.
Okay, so you agree then that it's possible that someone can, because you said you do think some babies go to heaven. You said that, right?
Yeah.
So you think it's possible that God can create something, they don't endure the suffering on earth, they go straight to heaven, they go to the good place. I didn't
say that. I didn't say straight to heaven. I said there's probably, for those children, there's probably either some sort of choice that they make or time spent in purgatory for the cleansing of the soul.
I'm confused. What happens during the cleansing of the soul? Are they like given the choice? Like, if they're in this realm, do they know God exists at this point? Like they recognize that there's a choice of heaven or hell? Like as a baby?
In purgatory?
Yeah.
Well, purgatory is only those who are going to heaven. It's often described as the trial by fire. It's in 1 Corinthians 3. So we don't know the exact mechanics of heaven, of purgatory, but it's probably not pleasant. I would give you that.
So, but my point is, do they have more? Is it the same like knowledge set that we have on Earth, like, or do they? I'm really confused about what this like. What would the purpose of that?
Your soul and to remove the damage done by sin.
So if it's cleansing of the soul, then that means that after the cleansing they would go to heaven, right?
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, so then fine. Then we agree then that babies do go to heaven.
Yeah.
Okay, so if babies go to heaven, that means that it's logically possible that you can, in the world God created, you can attain paradise without suffering, without having the ability to choose him or not. You go to heaven after the cleansing and purgatory or whatever.
You just excluded the suffering, even though we talked about that in purgatory.
So you think that even an innocent baby that dies, they still suffer in purgatory at God's whim? He doesn't just take them right into heaven?
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure. It probably depends on which child we're talking about, how long they were around for. But in Augustine,
let's say they literally come out of the woman and like unalived 2 seconds later. They took 2 breaths and then they were unalived. That baby, do they suffer at all before they get to go to heaven?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's a little unfair to ask me about the specific mechanics of the salvation of every circumstance.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm asking you this is you're making a lot of claims about this God and him being good, yet something as simple as, like, to me, if he's an all-loving God, and it's a baby, they would just go to heaven, right? Like they didn't do anything wrong. They were innocent. They were.
I mean, that's neglecting original sin, though, and concupiscence.
God is the one that gave us all original sin. He did that.
No, humans are the ones who caused original sin.
Did he know that they were going to eat? Did he know Eve was going to eat of the fruit?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he create the? Doesn't matter. Does he know that she was going to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, was he the one that put the tree that would allow her to send us all into like suffering? Did he put the tree there?
Yeah, did he put the choice of free will in the garden? Yes.
Did he put the serpent in the garden who was going to tempt her?
Well, it was Lucifer who was cast down for already.
Yeah, but who put Lucifer in the garden?
He was cast down to earth. Yeah, it was by God.
Okay, by God. Great. So God put the tree there. God knew Eve was going to eat it. God even put the serpent where she would be to know that he knew he was going to tempt her. And God also was the one that gave the punishment that because of Eve eating a fruit, we all now we're all washed in sin. So by what you're saying, because God did that, now this washing of sin means babies possibly go to hell. And that you think that's a good, just God.
Again, you're applying your moral faculties.
No, I'm asking you. Do you think that's a good?
Yes, I believe that is a good God. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's my whole point. This is why this religion is crazy to me. That is to believe that have you ever heard of Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Like this is, to me, I'm sorry, this is Stockholm syndrome. To think it's like you're captive to this God. This God is like your captor, and he's telling you that you are nothing, you are sinful, you're worthy of hell. But at the same time, he's also like, but I love you. Like that's not love. If you had a son or a daughter, is there anything that they could do to you? And take away the God aspect. I'm just talking about you and love.
Oh yeah,
you have a kid.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't harm them. I wouldn't send them to eternal hell.
Exactly, because you love them.
But I'm not God.
Right, but we're not. But this is an internal critique. We're talking about what is good or bad, and if we think God is good. This is just critiquing what we know of God, the attributes that you're describing Him to have, and we're critiquing what it is.
You're trying to apply the human good to the God good, which is what I've been trying to show you this whole time. Is that it's not the same thing. The human morality is not the same as the heavenly morality because he is a different being with different responsibilities. So
you're incapable then of telling me what is good and bad, because if you're saying that there's a human good and then there's a God good, and we anything God does is good, then that means that anything, like he could do the most horrific thing. Like he could have babies just right now, just slaughtered, boom, boom, boom. And you would have to say that's a good thing because it's God?
What? Yeah. Okay. So God, being the unmoved mover, is therefore lacking potency. That would mean he is pure act, meaning that there is nothing within him that is lacking. Since evil, being the lack of presence of good, meaning that all of the presence of God is good. This unmoved mover, which we believe is God, is 100% good. By the definition of what a God is.
How do you know God is all good?
I just gave you the Aquinas understanding.
No. I'm sorry. I'm saying, how do you know how do you know right now that God is all good? Where do you get this knowledge from? The Bible? Is that the only place that you understand God's morality?
No, I think.
Okay, where else do you derive the knowledge of what God is?
A God existing is intrinsic to existence itself. And the definition of the prime mover would be that he is all good.
Where are you getting that definition?
Which definition? Of the intrinsic, like pure logic?
You have to break that down for me. There's nowhere intuitively I would derive that logically. I would say just because there's a prime mover, that means that all of a sudden this prime mover is all good. Where are you jumping to the? Yeah.
So being a prime mover means that you are an uncaused cause. Agreed?
Sure.
So the definition of being an uncaused cause means that you have no potency or potential within you, because that would imply that there is some way you could be other than the way that you are, which would imply a mover before you. So this God has to be 100% actuality with 0% potency. Agreed?
I mean, sure, but how does that mean good?
I'm continuing.
Yeah.
So good, which is the eternal presence, and evil, which is the absence of said presence.
Wait. Sorry. Say that one more time. Say that phrase one more time.
Evil is the absence of the presence of good. Would you agree?
I don't know. Sure. I mean, we can just move forward with that. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Therefore, meaning that if something is absent of itself, it is the non-existence of the other thing. Since good is the existence and God is 100% actuality, the actuality.
Wait, okay, that's where I hold you to. Why do you think good is the existence? Why is existence just like automatically good? Why isn't it just like amoral?
Well, good isn't necessarily referring to morality. It's referring to perfection. And so good, you can visualize it as the light. That's why Jesus calls himself the light quite often. If good is the light, then evil is the darkness. And darkness is the absence of the light. So the light is the thing that actually exists, and evil is just the thing without.
So why is it? Because I feel like there's a jump being made here. I can give you, like, I obviously don't believe in a prime mover, but I can grant you this idea of a prime mover. Now jumping to all of a sudden, because there's a prime mover that is existence. Now this existence has to be good because it's light. That's a jump.
That's quite the straw man of what I just said. So if you like, let me connect the dots. If you let me finish the explanation. So we agree that the prime mover, must be pure act or pure actuality. Would you agree with that?
Pure actuality. Just like just acting.
Yes, being existence itself.
Sure,
there's nothing lacking within it.
Okay.
That would mean, therefore, since good is in existence, it must be assumed as part of the divine presence.
Well, but there's also bad in existence.
Well, we defined bad as non-existent. It is just the absence of good.
Wait, so do you think like there? Because I can point to plenty of acts that are bad that are in existence.
Well, they're bad from your perspective, but philosophers like Nietzsche and Dostoevsky, they would argue that there's no such thing as a human trying to seek a bad thing. It's not possible.
Nietzsche did not hold to a god, though.
Agreed. That's not what I'm arguing that he was talking about, though.
So, but then I'm okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So in his book Beyond Good and Evil, he talks about how a human cannot possibly seek something that he truly thinks is bad. And I would hold to that, because evil is not an actual existence. Anytime that evil is found by a human being, it's just the misconception of what they believe to be good, meaning that the absence of the good was the evil.
To me, I'm sorry, it's not following that because there is good in existence, that means that God, by definition, is all good.
Well, if he is pure act and pure existence, that since good exists as a thing, as a derivative of the existence of God.
Okay, so would an all good thing, right? So okay, we'll break it down to like before anything was created, we just have God. So if there is just your God, there's nothing else. There's only good, right? There's no evil.
Wait, say it again. Sorry, I zoned out for a second. I apologize.
You're okay. I do the same thing. So you're saying that before God created anything, and it's just God, was there any evil?
No, again, evil isn't a thing. I don't believe that there's evil now in the sense that you're using it as a tangible object.
No. I'm just saying like, however you would, so how to explain this? What when there was only God, was there anything? Well, yeah, you would have to say if evil is just the absence of good, right? And it's just God, you would say that this is only good, right? If there's no, he hasn't created earth yet, anything, it's just him existing, this would be all good, right? All light.
Yes. Okay. But I think I would like to clarify that the phrase before God created anything doesn't really make sense, because alongside creation, God makes time itself. So there was no before God created.
Oh, so what? Okay. Do you think what was there before he made heaven, hell, before he made earth, Adam, Eve? Was there ever a time where it was only God?
Again, so time was created simultaneously with the heaven.
So okay, with time. So time, and
there was no time previous to the existence of time.
So you're saying that there's things that God didn't create?
What do you mean by that? I believe that God created ex nihilo and he created all matter that exists. But I don't believe that God created pornographic magazines or anything.
No, I'm just trying to talk about the first things that came into existence. The first bits of matter. Okay, before the first bits of matter came into existence, it was only God, correct?
But again, you're saying before, and that's implying there was time that was before time, which doesn't make any sense.
How do I say it? Okay, before God created, let's focus on Earth then, and Adam and Eve and heaven and hell, the realms that we understand. Before this happened, God,
I hate to be this because it's super annoying, and I understand that, but there was no before he created Adam and Eve and heaven and earth. It was simultaneous. Time came into existence when that first verse of Genesis starts. God created the heaven and the earth. That is including time. That is a Hebrew idiom that includes time.
Okay. If he is all good, would he create bad things?
No, God is not the author of evil.
Okay. So why would, in his initial act of creating people, right, why would he create them initially? The first thing they do is a sin.
Well, it's not the first thing they do. They worked in the garden for a while. But again, God created them with the free will choice to do whatever it is they decided.
And he knew that they were going to so is it possible that God could have created them in a world where he knew they would not sin? They still had Eve had the choice, but he created her to know that she would not eat of the fruit.
But then it wouldn't be them, and he would just be deciding what they do. He created them with souls and then said, you go do what you want. And he
did he know in creating Eve that she was going to eat the fruit?
Yeah. So
then he knew everything was going to happen the way it would. He knew that he was going to send people to hell.
Totally. No,
So why, if God is all good, why is he creating something that would be bad?
Well, because then, okay, so he's not creating the bad. He's creating something that would be bad. Again, foreknowledge is not the same as forbearance. So he created with the knowledge that some people would end up in hell, but only because they chose to do so. That doesn't mean that he knew. But he knew they were. Is it possible that Is it possible that every being that he ever created would only go to heaven? And they still have free will. He just only creates the people that he knows will make in your world, the free choice to do the good. Anyone that he was about to create that knew would do the bad things and go to hell, he just doesn't create them. Is that logically possible? Well, without the evil in the world, Christ's sacrifice wouldn't have been made. There wouldn't have been atonement for sins.
Well, why is that not, then what? Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't need to die for sin. That would be great, right?
Well, we go to heaven. We go to heaven because of Christ's sacrifice.
That's what I'm saying. That wasn't necessary. It's very possible, right? It logically follows that God could have created everything the same. The only difference is any vessel that he was about to create because you said he knows what their choices would be. Before creating them, when he knew that they were going to choose the bad thing, where they would go to hell or cause harm to other people, he just doesn't create those people. He only creates the ones that would go to heaven. Does that logically follow? And it does not negate those people's free will, right? They're still choosing all the things. They're just choosing God. He knew they would choose God. What's logically, what's the contradiction in that possibility?
Well, you're assuming that the timelines of all things would stay consistent so long as these people weren't created, but that wouldn't make any sense because most times evil actually brings out the good in many other people. So for example, if I see someone, crazy example here, I don't know why this is what I'm thinking of, but if someone's kicking a homeless person, it would inspire me to go do good and help that homeless person. And so without the evil in the world, which all people commit, by the way. So if God were to create a world without any evil people, then there would be nobody here. But that, like, the evil brings about good. That's why it says that God.
Okay, so then evil is necessary?
Evil is necessary in what sense? For free will? Yes, I believe that there has to be some sort of alternative option to God.
So God, it's not logically possible for an all good God to create a world with no evil. You have to have evil.
All good in the sense that God is completely perfect, then yes, it would not be logically coherent for him to create a world with no evil.
How so? How does that not logically follow?
I mean, that's what we just spent an hour explaining.
No.
Is that
it doesn't to me? Oh yeah, sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Free will is part of God's goodness. His blessing of free will.
Right, but I'm saying is it not logically possible to create? So, okay, all the people on this planet that go to heaven that chose. Sorry, I got a notification. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Oh shit, what was I saying? Okay, so all of the people that God created right now on this earth that are going to go to heaven, do they all have free will, right?
Wait, say it one more time.
All the people that God created on this earth that do good things and go to heaven, do they have free will?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, remove all of the individuals on this earth that choose bad, that with their free will choose bad things and go to hell. Do those people that exist here that still do the good things, do they still have free will? How did removing the bad people negate their free will?
Well, they're not going to heaven because they do good things. They're going to heaven because they put their faith in Christ. There's actually, according to
that's what I mean. It's just my with their free will they chose Christ, right? They chose that's why they go to heaven.
But they were only able to choose Christ because of the evil that was primarily committed, necessitating the sacrifice of Christ.
Right. So you just said it. So evil is necessary. Evil is a necessary condition in this world for God. So God isn't all powerful. He's constrained to the necessary condition of evil. And if you're saying God is all good, then that means that evil exists outside of him. So there's something outside of God that's a necessary condition.
God is constrained to himself in his own logical understanding. So that means that the evil that we have, it is still contingent upon his decision, but it is what he decided as the necessary being. It's completely reliant on him. So yes, the world that was created is the way it was and way that it had to be, but that doesn't mean that God forbore everything that is in existence.
So to me that doesn't logically follow. What you're describing by saying that we have to have evil to have good means that evil is a necessary condition. Because if it's not necessary, that means that the world I'm positing, that all these people that choose Christ and do good things and go to heaven, they still have their free will. That world can logically exist without any contradiction to God. And you're saying that can't exist because evil is a necessary condition, meaning that your God that is all good, there's something outside of him, which would be the evil, the lack of good or whatever, the darkness, is a necessary condition for those individuals to go to heaven. So that means that your God, in all of his power, is incapable of creating a perfect world, which is also contradictory to your idea of heaven, because he clearly can create heaven, which is a world or a realm, whatever, that there's no evil in heaven, yet they all exist and they choose him. Like this means that God just created a world with evil because he wanted to.
No, God created a world of free will. I think you might be confusing the terms good and good because we're using the same
word. I am so sorry. I'm going to follow you. I just realized it is 5:30 and I have to go.
Yeah. No
I've had a really good conversation. I know that I yapped your ear off. I'll follow you and I'd love to. Well. No, it was good. I'll join some other time. But thanks for the conversation. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, God bless. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys. It's late. It's very late for me. It's very late. good conversations. We're not doing anymore. Unfortunately, I'm very, very tired. I'm going to pray for you guys though, if that's all right. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lord Father, thanks so much for blessing me with the ability to speak with all of these people, Lord, and to talk about you and your beauty and your theological implications. Lord, we love you. We glorify you and we praise you. We just pray that you continue to use everyone here as a messenger of your truth and as a vessel to proclaim your glory, Lord. We love you. And we pray all of this in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you guys so much for joining, and God bless.